this amazing series, Parenting Around the World from Mama Tortuga. My name is Joanna. I'm the person behind mamatortuga.org. For some of you, Mama Tortuga is new. For some of you, you have been following Mama Tortuga for a while. What Mama Tortuga is a website. It's a bilingual website in English and Spanish that is looking to be a community, a virtual community of supporting parents around the world, raising children that are mindful, eco-conscious, but also that have a sense of others, and they're human and they're empathic. And we do all this is because we believe that we can do much better, and not only for ourselves but for the future generations. So I'm so glad that we are coming back to this series that started a month ago, in which we had already 2 conversations with 2 different families, and I hope you had the opportunity to see them. The first one was with Trina Green Brown from Parenting for Liberation, a Black family living in California, and she was our first guest in this Parenting Around the World. And the second conversation we had was with Caleb Parsons from Osaka, Japan, who's raising their daughter in Japan. And today I just want to congratulate everybody who had the chance and the time to watch this series, because I think more than ever we are in need of seeing what is going on around the world, and put ourselves out there and listening to other stories. So I want to send my heart to you. I know a lot of us have been going through a lot of issues lately, and I just hope that this series can be something that you guys can look forward to. I'm gonna have many amazing people going on in this series. Not only that, I hope that we can have more and more. And I want to talk to most of you who follow Mama Tortuga and support me in many ways. Please share the content that Mama Tortuga had created throughout the years, and do not forget that I also need support. So with all these, I just want to invite our wonderful guest of today. Her name is, I think I'm saying it right. Hold on, we're inviting them. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Really, really good. I'm so glad that you are able to join us. And I just want to ask one more time, how would you pronounce your name?
Lapwai.
Lapwai.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Joanna. And
Hi, Joanna.
our friend Lapwai is joining from straight from Singapore. It's 12 hours of difference. So around here is 10 a.m. in Eastern time, and she is so graciously waiting for us at 10 p.m. in Singapore. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Feeling so honored.
So this series is looking into exploring and documenting the stories of many parents around the world at this moment in history. And I want to try to kind of be gracious with everybody, because I think, we've been going through a lot this year. So as many of you understand, there's a lot of things that are affecting us globally at this moment. And that's why I invited Lup Wei to share with us what she's doing in her own house. And she's gonna tell us, like she's parenting, how many children, their ages, and where are they located.
Yep, I'm parenting my 2 kids, aged 8 and 11, at home. And we have been, we had a lockdown for the past 2 months, and we have been doing a lot of things at home, trying to occupy each other's time and trying to have some me time as well. So we did have we realized that we have a closer relationship with each other during this lockdown period, and we understand each other better during this period and have more time and patience with each other as well.
And that is fantastic. I think, that's something that you've been working towards because following your account, and of course, we will be posting your account in our website as well, all your contacts. Way is a parent whisperer, a person who's raising conscious kids. And I love the way that you empower them and offer them many ways for them to be them.
Yes, yes. And I personally, I would also have to be conscious about myself. So in order to raise my conscious kids. So it's a two-way traffic, and it takes two hands to clap. Sometimes I do make my mistake as a parent because parenting is not easy, and sometimes we tend to forget about the conscious part. So raising them consciously is more of like having them to be aware of themselves as well. And if I really lose my temper, or if I doing things that are unconsciously, they will remind me as well. So I will remind them and they will remind me. So it's like a two-way traffic where we help each other to grow and to help each other to be a better person.
Yes, and that's exactly what we wanted to, highlight, because I think many families, we are trying to work on that because we are
Yeah.
realizing that that is what's changing societies overall. And in this series, we are going to explore how you are teaching your children and modeling in daily life to your children, but also how do you see the notions of freedom, community, responsibility, and autonomy. Four notions that I think at this moment more than ever we need to kind of like evaluate how we are working with them at this moment. So in the case of Look Way, raising children in Singapore, how do you see and you approach the notion of freedom?
Okay, I will say that it's more of it's not easy to come to the point of like the freedom, having the freedom on parenting and having the kids having the kind of freedom that you want them to have. It's it's there's a lot of things going on, and we have to be aware that we have to let them know and nurture them in a way that there is freedom, but there is also restrictions and there is also boundary. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to tell them and let them be aware as well. Yes, you can have your freedom, but there is a limit to that, and there's a boundary to that. So it's not that you have the freedom, you can do whatever you want, right? And as a parent, it's tough. It's not easy to gauge how far can they go, how much freedom can they have. And it's always a trial and error. There's no perfect way, and there's no perfect gauge of how they should go to have that kind of freedom that they are entitled to. And we don't want them to have that kind of feelings of entitlement as well. I can do whatever I want. I have the freedom to do whatever I want. But as I mentioned before, it's like there is a limit to everything that we do. And we have to be mindful of that, on how much we can give them and how much they can go. Yeah,
And
among our kids as well.
yes, well, my question is also, I think, the notion of freedom has a lot to do the way you were raised and the community you are living at, because I do believe like around the world, there are different measurements of freedom. Like, like I think certain places in the world, like have very specific notions of freedom. So, were you raised in Singapore, or like, I mean, I don't know if you want to answer that. Like, some people, have a hard time explaining these things because I'm also an immigrant. So, I have to always explain. Like, I was not raised in the United States. I was raised in another country, which is Colombia. And the notions of freedom came from the people that raised me. So it's a very continual learning. We need to learn how to measure all those notions. So in your case, were you raised in Singapore, and how is approach?
Yes, I'm raised in Singapore, and my mom doesn't work, so she's a housewife. So I feel like I don't have that freedom, and my community is small, and my friends, the circle is small as well. So everybody say that Singapore is very safe, and you can go anywhere you want, no matter how late you come back. But it depends. No matter where you are, on top of looking around.
Okay, let's wait. We cut. I think
Yeah.
you need to, yeah, we need to repeat the last sentence
Okay.
because I couldn't hear it.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you were saying that because it's a small community.
Yeah. Over here, Singapore is very small, and of course, a lot of people will say that Singapore is very safe as well. But even though it's safe, my mom doesn't allow me to travel anywhere I want. She will have me trapped at home to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Right. It's also the same, I think, in every country and every family. The freedom, how they gauge the freedom is very subjective, depending on your family type. Right?
Yeah.
Every different level of freedom.
Yeah.
So I would say that there's no there's no standard about freedom,
Mm.
and there's no standard of how big your community must be.
Yes.
Right?
And that is why I want parents to, like, evaluate all these notions, because sometimes we think like, oh, it's because we live in a country, in a specific country, and these are the rules of freedom, or, like, I think it really depends on the particulars and how the experiences of people shape them. Like, for example, like, I also grew up in a very contained household where, yes, in my case, I was living in a very violent place. So I understood at young age that, all these boundaries for my safety and, my lack of freedom were coming out of fear. And, that was the motivation of, my family to protect me. So in many ways, that also prevented my freedom, because how my family, perceived the world and what was happening around us, it was really, not making conducive for like, for to feel free.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with why I wanted to make a contrast between a lot of us who are parenting in the world, because, like, sometimes we are just assuming situations. One thing
Yeah.
that I wanted to ask is that Singapore is a multicultural country. There are
Yes.
many official religions and languages, and I think like that also has a lot of background to all these notions, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. We do. It's
I
is it my area or is it my end or?
No, I just changed to the cell phone because it seems like my Wi-Fi is choppy. But please continue.
Okay. Yeah. For for here, over here is multicultural, so we have a lot of different cultural people over in Singapore, and the common language that we speak is English. So that most of people who comes to Singapore, we will always speak English to each other. And then in school, main language is English as well. So the second language is your mother tongue. If you are Chinese, you learn Chinese. If you are Malay, you learn Malay. So for foreigners, you can opt to choose what language you want to learn, like Chinese or Malay or Tamil.
Nice.
On top of that, there are a lot of like international language school. You get to learn your preferred language as well.
Nice. That's so amazing. And I think, like especially children that are surrounded by many languages, that creates a very good sense of, like multiculturalism in the real sense, because so many times I see like a lot of people that, just say like, oh, multiculturalism is, learning about different cultures in general. But I think having those relationships, having those friendships, having friends that do not speak the same language at home and eat different things at home, and but then when you're together, like you're having these amazing friendships together, that gives it a real sense of like really getting to know other people that are different than you, but we are all together. Like it's an effort of good society norm, because it makes you more aware that there are many different to approach things.
Yeah.
So the second notion that I want to, ask from you is the notion of community. So how were you raised, to see community in general? Like, who is your community, and how you are teaching your children about their community?
Right. At every stage of our life, we have different community, I would say, right? And when they were younger, I do bring them around to meet different friends from other countries. So there was one period where we always interact with a Japanese family. So we go to their house to learn about Japanese culture and stuff, and they will come to us, and then they will learn about our local culture. So that's my so-called expose them to different friends from different countries. And when they go to school, we have a different kind of community as well, those school-going families, school-going children. And that's where they learn about how to explore, how to learn, how to nurture each other, and how to help each other. So that's how I expose them to different kind of community at different stage of their life.
Nice.
So
So how do Singapore people, I don't know how will be the right name to call Singaporeans?
Singaporeans, yes.
Okay, Singaporeans work in their community building. Like, do you think like Singapore is a country that fosters community sense, cohesion, or is not as, like, it doesn't have societal norms that help to build community? What do you think?
I guess because over here, Singapore is a small country, so it's easy to form the community and easier to, how to say, to link up with each other and help each other in a way. So there's always a push for community work, community sense around here in Singapore. Even during this lockdown, there's always news about helping each other, having songs coming out to encourage each other to push through this difficult period. So that is a kind of community that the country work on to help each other to push through this period.
Sure, because I think, the contrast that I like to make is like there's some societies that push towards more like the individualistic mindset, like like, you are the one, you're the most important. And then there are other societies around the world who are more mindful about, like, okay, yes, you are important, but your community, is really important. And I was having that conversation with Caleb from Japan, because he was telling me that in Japan they're really strict about certain, things in the community, and children are expected since they're babies, like to support those societal norms that foster, the well-being of the whole community rather than the individual. And I think that's so important to highlight, because I think, more and more we are seeing influences from many places, isn't it? Like our children watch TV shows and movies, and so how do I mean, I'm asking you because you're living there. I'm not, what I know about Singapore is, from what I've seen and read in the past. But how is the society, like, is in Singapore? Is similar more to like the Japanese, or is more oriented to individualistic mindset?
I would say like half half, half half, yeah. So even though it's like a community, we also have to think about individual as well. So it depends on what area you're looking at and which area you're looking at. So for example, this COVID period, not only you have to look around, help each other, especially family that doesn't have enough help, or elderly family, that's where you need to step out and help each other. And you also have to look after yourself. It's just like putting an oxygen mask on yourself first, right, before you can look after someone else.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. And how is everything going on with the COVID? Because over here it seems like everything is going back to normal, but the numbers are going up.
Yeah. It's almost the same everywhere. Over here is they're easing the lockdown. Children are going back to school on alternate weeks. So yeah, we're still watching and still mindful about hygiene and stuff like that. And things are opening up, and things are also going back to the normal, but not exactly normal as before. It's
Sure.
kind of normal, yeah, where you
Yeah.
hate out, you know, it's different kind of lifestyle altogether.
Yeah. And people do wear their mask, or it's like here that everybody complains that they don't want to wear a mask because it's uncomfortable.
No, over here you have to wear a mask as long as you step out of the house. So if you
Yeah.
don't, you will be fined a small amount of money, or some people it's a huge amount of money for not wearing the mask. So it's a must to, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that I also, like to tell our viewers, or the people that are gonna watch this conversation, because I do believe it's so important to realize that, like, we need to care for each other. And in the process of caring ourselves, we care for each other because we're living in this community.
I
Okay,
know.
so the third notion I wanted to talk about is one that usually is very important in every household, the notion of responsibility. Because I do believe, like, most parents have to, like, these conversations with our children about, like, their responsibility, and like how we are supposed to, help out in our households. But I do also believe that the scope of responsibility and what we are teaching our children is like what responsibility we also have as citizens of this world, like the responsibility we have with the places we are at, and how they're going to see it that in the future. So you as a family, how did you approach those notions?
uh, for children is always a step-by-step approach on how to teach responsibility. And for example, housework, so at different stage I'll assign different kind of housework which they are able to do, able to complete. And from there, I would teach and move on to a bigger responsibility for them. Also, on top of that, I will show them what kind of responsibility that I have, so that they are aware that, okay, next time I'm going to have this kind of responsibility. So they will be aware and be ready for the next bigger responsibility that they will be holding in the future. Yeah. So it's more.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like something that is so important, because I mean, if we're teaching responsibility at home, and I don't know, you're the parent the same as me. I'm always teaching the children that we are also doing it, because we live together. It's not, like you all use the bathroom, you all use the common areas, and you need to be mindful about, like you need to keep the place first of all, like nice and beautiful and organized. But second is because you have to also think about the others that are living with you. And I see it a lot, especially with children that go out to college. And many times, they have to sleep in dormitories. And how many kids have never seen, it seems, I don't know, I wonder, I'm just assuming, but so many kids seem like they never had this conversation, like they use something and they leave it there, and trash, and they never pick up the trash, they never clean the toilet. And I'm like, so you never had this conversation about like, well, how come you need to watch out as well for others, not only, you in this world?
Yeah, I think it's because like as the world advances, as our life are getting better compared to the past, so a lot of families already have like helper, someone to look after the house, to clean up the house, so they do not have to do it. So I have taught children who, I told them to clean up the school. We use the school compound, we have to clean up the school. And what shocked me is that the kids was telling me, I do not know how to flush a toilet.
Wow.
That shocked me. So that's also, while you're teaching other children, you also realize that what other children are going through, and you also reflect back, what am I teaching to my children? Yeah. Even when you're watching the TV, you are watching all those kids, how they behave. So if they are watching with you, teach them along the way, guide them along the way. And also at the same time, am I parenting the way that I want to parent? So how am I going to make sure that if I do not want this to happen, how am I going to make sure to parent my kids such that these things won't happen?
Yeah.
It's not a confirmed answer that it won't happen, but at least you try and you're aware of that.
Yes, but I think that has a lot to do with this word that a lot of people are just throwing out and not wanting to approach the word privilege. And I always say, like, because I have this conversation a lot, especially now with the context of race. I think, all children need to learn about their own privilege, because, like a lot of children are growing up in very privileged environments nowadays, and they have never even approached this conversation about talking about like what is privilege, like, and why you should be grateful that you have these opportunities, and you have a helper at home and somebody comes and clean it, because so many other people around the world do not have that privilege. And you will need to learn how to deal also in community with that. And that, I think, is something that is very important as well for us as parents, because we need to have this conversation about, like, yes, you have this privilege. Everybody has some privilege, and I always have to approach it like, I speak more than one language. That's a privilege. I'm able-bodied. I can walk. I can hear. I can see. There's so many people that do not have those privileges. And we're having a comment here. It says, sadly, we have cheated our children of so much if we don't teach them early to be responsible for more than just their schoolwork. Yes. Yes, because sometimes we prioritize only the academics as well.
Correct.
I've been guilty of that. That's something that I love about your account, by the way, Love Way, because I think in comparison to what a lot of people think about Asian moms in general, that they're tiger moms, and yes, there have been books about it. I'm very direct, so I'm pretty sure you know. But they just assume that all Asian parents and Indian parents and they're only thinking about the academics and that's it. And I think that's another stereotype that we need to combat, because in the same way their parents are only motivated by those things, there are other parents that are looking out for the well-being of their children.
Yeah.
And Love Way can also help you into that. You do work with parents
Yeah.
and helping them with the relationship with their children.
Yes, I do. Yes. It's not easy. It's not easy. I won't say it's easy. Sometimes I also make mistake myself, but I always have to be, after you make the mistake, you have to reflect back. What did I do? So what should I do next? And what should I do moving forward? So instead of hitting yourself, stepping back, backward, why not you reflect back and then you step forward? All right. And then proceed on how to parent your children in the future. So yes, we may have missed the period of like teaching them the responsibility now, but it's not too late to continue, right? To show your support and teach them from now on. So now that you are aware, so why not you start now, right?
Yes. Like if they have never cleaned their own room,
Yeah,
today is the day. Today is the day we can teach them, because that's another thing. Children need to be taught. Like,
correct.
don't assume that children know how to do things. And that happens in my life. Like, sometimes I even get frustrated because I have to explain the same thing over and over and over. But if
Yeah,
we think about it, we are the role models, we are the guides, and we are here for that. We are
yes,
here for that until the day they move on and use other guys and role models for themselves. But when we are with our children at this moment in their lives, we are here to teach them. So if we need to teach them how to wash the dishes 5 times, 6 times, I mean, I think it's an everyday process that we will have to do it. It's not gonna be like you're gonna have this conversation once and then never talk
yeah,
about it.
correct, correct. We have to constantly remind them again and again. It's non-stop. It's non-stop. It's tiring sometimes, but you have to keep doing it until it becomes a habit, right? I have to wash dishes after I eat. It become a
Yeah.
habit, and then naturally they will do it.
Yes. So I like that you also put in the beginning that in order for us to have a good disposition in doing this learning and teaching, we need to care of ourselves as well.
Yeah,
Because if we are drained, and that happens to me all the time, if I'm drained, if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not resting, if I'm not doing the things that I need to do, of course I'm gonna be irritable with the children. Of course I'm gonna not have the patience that I need to have. And
correct.
yes, raising children is a job, and it is a job that we chose.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, we did chose at the moment that we panicked and we decided to live with these babies. So it says it's also good for the family to do volunteer work together, like feeding the homeless or volunteering to help the elderly. Yes, like, and that's part of the community work that we need to instill with our children. And I think like that's something that we need to also talk about it, because I feel very strongly that we need to volunteer and we need to do all these things, but we need to do it for the right reasons. Because
Yeah,
sadly, I've seen a lot of people that are just doing it to put it in their IG. And they're teaching their children that, like, just do something good for publicity, or for the others to say how good you are. And in reality, in doing that is also, teaching the children that, whatever you do, do it for an ulterior motive, isn't it? It's not about, really growing up as a community and having strong bonds with your community, but it's like, oh, I'm giving them something, like I hear people, like that donate stuff, and then they get upset because according to them, they didn't like what they donated. And I'm like, well, did you ask the community what they needed before going there and giving them what you think they needed? And they look at me like, how? I never thought about that. And I'm like, it's the same with your children, like you need to ask the baby or your teenager, are you thirsty? Do you like to drink something at this moment? And let them say that to you, have the conversation instead of, no, you have to drink this now because I say so, because I'm being a good parent. But we're missing out the relationship
And the
and the
connection.
community. Yes. Yes. And I always say that parenting in a mindful, conscious way needs to start at that point, in the bonds, the relationship we have with our children. It's not going to be perfect, like Lapway say. We're not perfect. So we will have to go many times and ask for forgiveness from our children. I have done it, and I will keep doing it. I'm pretty sure until the day I die.
If I make mistake, I do apologize to my kids. I mean, we are not perfect. We are not. Yes, they need to look up to us as a role model, but it doesn't mean that we have to be perfect all the time to show them. We have to show them that we do make mistakes, and we do have the vulnerable side. And they have to know that, because we are humans. We are also humans. We have emotions. We have feelings. So we are not perfect all the time. Yeah. Sometimes.
And that notion of perfection that I think is so damaging as well. Like nowadays children believe like everything they see in the internet is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like the way they're trying to let you think it is. But first of all, there's nothing perfect in this earth. Everything is in constant movement, constant evolution, hopefully. Because I do believe like some things are kind of like condescending and going backwards, but but we want to be growing, we want to be walking forward, and that is part of acknowledging our mistakes and also teaching children that it's all right. If you're like my children play instruments, and there's some kids that are very gifted, like they're super like, yeah, and they can do everything, and I see a lot of frustration coming, from my children sometimes, because they're like, but I cannot do it perfectly. And I'm like, but that's not what is expected.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that perfection is not expected from you. What I want from you, and I wish you can learn, is that you can grow into your own practice, grow into your own music, grow into your own. That will require a lot of time and effort. And but that is what we should be praising in general. Like, your effort, that you want to learn, that you want to play this instrument, or you want to create music. And I think that's something that is key in parenting and in these new mindful ways in the year 2020. Like the world is showing us that everything may shift in 1 second. And in teaching our children that they can transform and adapt in growing is such a gift, because that way they won't have that pressure from their society. The last notion that we want to tackle is the notion of autonomy. And I think autonomy sometimes is overseen in a lot of parenting circles. And I'm pretty sure you know what I mean, because I know you are also empowering your children to be autonomous. Would you like to share with us?
I do give them the autonomy to have, like make their own decision, do their own stuff. And I always also give them the consequences of what will happen next. All right, and then they have a choice. They have a choice to make their own. Okay, if you want to study, if you want a good result, what should you do? Right? If you don't study now, what will happen? So it's all on your own. Right? You make the choice. I give you the choice. You make the choice. This is the consequences. Which consequences do you want to go to? Right.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I do with them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think like that's something that I'm working towards with both of my children at this moment, for them to find their inner motivation rather than to find my outside voice, which usually is annoying. The outside voice who's gonna tell them go and brush your teeth. Like I always use that as a basic example. Like, why do you need to brush your teeth? Do it in an autonomous way, because you know that you need to take care of those teeth, because those are part of your body and you're gonna need them the rest of your life to eat. And why do you need to wait until mommy tells you go and brush your teeth? Like, and I think like that's a very real example of, you know, like many things that need to happen in society in general. Like, instead of waiting for the government to say things, or, you know, like to put a law, like so many times, why we're not doing what we know is the best thing, you know, like for example, taking care of the environment. Like that's something that, you know, like, you should not contaminate the water, because that's something that all of us need. Like, I mean, like, you don't need any outside pressure to know these things.
Correct. Yes.
Same thing at home.
Yeah. And it starts from the home. It starts from us. It starts from us. If we don't teach, they won't know. If they won't know, they won't do it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lopway, for sharing with us today. And right now, I want you to let our viewers know what do you do, what you offer, and in which places they can find you, and, you know, introduce yourself, you know, because that I wanted to tackle the notions first. I feel like it's very important to come to this space and not having any you know, ideas inside your head before meeting the person. So it's good to hear the answers to the notions first, and then listen from you who you are, what do you do, you know, all this, because I think, you know, like sometimes people, when they hear, oh, it's this person or this other person, they come to the space with already preconceived ideas. So that's why I'm letting everybody to introduce themselves until the end.
Sure. So I'm Lapwai, the parent whisperer, and I do help parents with like parenting coaching with them. And it's not about trying to be the perfect parent, but more of it as a support the parent on how to build a connection and relationship with the children, and also how to guide the children to be more responsible in their life, and also to nurture the children in a manner where nurture them to be a lifelong learner. So to make them love learning and to make them love to explore. So that also build up a connection between the parent and the child.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, you can come to my IG at Lapwai Parent Whisperer, or my website lapwaiparentwhisperer.com. So for my Facebook, I'm not able to change the name. I used to name my Facebook page as Young Smarties. So you can still search Young Smarties, because I'm not able to change my name. And from the Young Smarties, you can still see what I share on the page as well.
That's wonderful. And are you an educator, or are you a mom? Like, oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Is they're telling me that sorry to leave, but the feed is bad and the screen keeps freezing. I did enjoy this very much. Thank you so much, Brooklyn Kid 461. I love to hear feedback because sometimes we do all this and people don't even give me a feedback, and sometimes it feels like, well, I don't know if they like it or not. But for everybody, this will be safe. And this, what I'm doing with all my IGTVs, I'm going to, this especially, I'm going to upload them for my website. Every person is going to have one page where I'm going to put all your information. They can contact you, but I'm also going to translate it into Spanish.
That's
Yes, yes, because it's going to take a while because it's only one of me. But I
great.
do believe that all these notions and all the things that we're sharing can help many parents in the world around the globe, because many of us are waking up to realize that we are making a huge difference in the world just
Yeah.
by raising our children.
Yeah.
So it excites me to think that we are not the only ones. We are just a few of many, and we have a potential to make a difference. Because sometimes, like especially in times like this, we are feeling very hopelessness. But I just wanted to tell everybody that this is gonna be safe. This is gonna be put up in my website, and I may have to put this later on in a Patreon. And the reason for that is because I've seen like a lot of big accounts are stealing the content from small accounts like mine,
Oh,
sadly. Yeah, so and they don't even give you credit. So, sadly, it seems like it's a trend. So I've been, asked to kind of like perhaps, have a page in my page access only for people that do want to kind of like get into that content.
okay.
So yes. So thank you so much, Loveway. Thank you so much for staying up late.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad it bring values to many parents out there, and I hope parents are getting all the values from us as well, and especially from you for sharing with so many parents in around the world.
Thank you so much. So I hope we can keep in collaboration. And I invite everybody one more time, if they have not seen the rest of the series till this moment, we have two other conversations with two other families before Lockway in Singapore. And I made a little introduction to the reasons of why I believe these notions are important at this moment in this world. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day. Bye-bye.